The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Ski Sundown in nearby New Hartford, Connecticut. Groomed twice daily for optimal skiing conditions, both day and night. Ticket information available at skisundown.com. Winter made better. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by UMass Amherst School of Public Policy. Admissions now open for graduate programs in 2025. Learn how to become a changemaker at umass.edu/SPP.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Monty Belmonte, and if you can believe it, it's a Friday once again. For Live Music Friday, we've got the band Le Vent du Nord, who are leading force in Quebec's francophone folk movement and who are playing a sold-out All Saints Church in South Hadley tonight. With the Super Bowl this weekend, we've got Dr. Usman Power Green from Clark University giving us a bit of the history of black quarterbacks in the NFL, as well as the impact of black performers during the halftime shows. And if snow isn't your thing, we'll channel spring with 2 rosé wines at State Street in Northampton. But first... India Owens is a Detroit-raised recording artist, bassist, and composer. She's been mentored by jazz icons, the likes of Marcus Belgrade, Rodney Whitaker, and Ron Carter. She's toured and performed with Wynton Marsalis, Jennifer Holliday, Diana Ross, Solange, John Baptiste, Jasmine Horn, and Steve Turre, to name a few.
In 2018, India graduated from the Juilliard School and joined The Late Show with Stephen Colbert as a member of the house band Stay Human. Since then, India has won an Emmy, a Grammy, and a George Foster Peabody Award. India's work has appeared on John Batiste's Grammy Award-winning album We Are, Oscar-nominated film Judas and the Black Messiah.
She's been commissioned for work by the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra as their 2023 Mac Music Innovator and is a curator for the National Arts Club. She was a fellow for Jazz Is Now with the National Jazz Museum in Harlem, where she presented original compositions, curated a series, and headlined performances for the 2022-23 season.
India has a true passion for philanthropy and teaching. She has taught students across the United States, South America, and Europe. In 2020, India founded the Community Cookout, a nonprofit organization birthed out of the COVID-19 pandemic that provided meals and music to underserved neighborhoods in New York City. To date, India's organization helped feed close to 3,000 New Yorkers and has hosted over a dozen free music concerts in the States and beyond.
Tonight, at the UMass Fine Arts Center, India Owens performs along with her band, The Cookout, which is the coolest band name and mission, 7 p.m. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining the show.
Thank you for having me. That was great.
Yeah. You don't have a proper Wikipedia page, I noticed, so we just created one for you.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. So you started on piano, moved to violin, and then ended up on double bass. But do you ever go back to your other instruments?
Yes, I actually have my violin here, my piano. I was playing tuba for a second.
Wow.
And then my lungs, I value my oxygen. So, yes, I do. I do go back to my old instruments. I've started producing now, so I find that I need to play them more and more now.
The story how you came to bass is really fun. From, tinkering around on a keyboard to wanting to be like a first violinist to kind of being forced into the bass. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yes. So my first instrument was the piano, the keyboard. My mom bought me a Yamaha keyboard at 8, and I could play everything that I heard, no matter if it was For Elise or Good Times, the jingle, the theme song. I could hear everything, and it was just such a vast new world. So my mom put me in a program in elementary school. It was a free music program where I started the violin. And I actually was first chair all of my years until I stopped. And I also did national competition. So I'm actually a very good violinist. And then in high school, my orchestral director, he heard me playing Mozart Symphony 25 by ear, because I just saw 4 basses laying on the ground. We didn't have a bass player. And I said, I could play that. Like, that's nothing. It was something, by the way.
Not for you.
But I ended up playing it. And my director overheard me, and he said, India, you're going to switch to bass now. And I said, no, like, I'm first chair. I'm the Beyonce of the orchestra. Like, please. And he said, well, play the bass or you're getting an F. Since my mom was an educator, that was definitely not gonna fly. So I started playing the bass reluctantly a little bit, but I grew to love it.
You look like you're having the most fun when we watch you play. Like you're smiling ear to ear and bopping around. It seems like no matter what type of music you're playing, like you're having the most fun.
Yes, I love it so much. It's almost like I transcend into another world. It doesn't matter what's going on.
We should talk about how you came to the Late Show too, for those out there who don't know. And we're talking with N'Dea Owens, who's going to be at the Fine Arts Center this evening at 7 p.m. in Amherst, because it is amazing how you ended up as part of that house band.
Yes, it was pretty random, I have to say. or divine destiny. So I was playing at Smalls at 4 a.m. Smalls Jazz Club. It's in the West Village of New York. And I was doing so many jam sessions my early years in New York. I was just playing everywhere. Haitian music, calypso, gospel, Mary J. Blige tribute, yes. Orchestral music, yes. Anywhere that I could be, I was there. So at Smalls, the drummer of our band, Joe Saylor, he saw me performing. I didn't know him, but we didn't even talk that night. But he told Jon Batiste about me. He said, this is this really great bass player, and I think she would be an amazing fit to the band. I know you've been looking for a bass player for a while. I think maybe a few months later in August of 2019, I got an unknown caller, and I thought it was my nephews playing on my phone. So I answered the phone so bad. Hello. Like, I was like, they play too much. I'm at the airport. Y'all are just doing too much. But it was John. This is Jon Batiste. Oh, okay. And we had an hour conversation just about music and life. It wasn't even about any gigs. And maybe a month or two after that, his manager called me to sub on the show, and I couldn't believe it. I said, what? So I said, I don't know who the bass player is at that show, but this is my gig now. I felt it. And after those 2 days, they really loved me. And then I did 2 weeks after that, then 2 months. Then later on, I was signing the contract. So that's how that happened.
Who's the coolest person that you've gotten to meet through The Late Show? Somebody that, you'll tell your potential grandkids about someday, that I got to meet this person.
It's between Michelle Obama. Actually, it's Michelle Obama. There's no in between.
It's between Michelle and Obama. Yeah. Right. Yes. We're speaking with N'Dea Owens, who will be at the UMass Fine Arts Center with her band, The Cookout, tonight. I love the concept of this, and we mentioned in the intro about how you've used your music to help feed people. It's something that we at this show care very deeply about. And you yourself have had to overcome some major obstacles to get to where you are right now, including being homeless for a period of time. Can you talk about that situation and how even despite that situation, you continued to bring the bass to where you were going?
Like I said, my mom was an educator for over 10 years. But then due to the George W. Bush No Child Left Behind Act, a lot of teachers were laid off. It meant that my mother was also laid off. So one day we're just walking home. I have my bass. I always backpacked my bass, like literally on my back. And the house is boarded up and everything's gone. So now we have the clothes on our back, a little bit of change in our pockets, and I have this huge bass on my back. So after that, we were like, okay, we don't know where to go. So we went to downtown Detroit. We went to so many homeless shelters. We got denied from a lot of shelters until we found one. And the conditions in there were just horrible. However, my mom, being the great mother that she is, she always told me, you have to practice. You still have to get good grades, N'Dea. This is just a moment. And I would be like, okay. And I remember I was playing something in D minor. I think I could only play a few keys because I had just started. So I was like,
According to
okay,
Spinal Tap, it is the saddest of all keys.
thank you. Thank you. It's the key of the emos. Yeah. So I was playing in D minor and I closed my eyes. I was playing in the hallway of the shelter. I closed my eyes. I was like, okay, let's get to that place where nothing else matters. And I opened my eyes and there were so many women and children around me smiling and crying. They actually gave me a huge round of applause. That made me realize that what I'm doing is not just playing the bass, it's more of being a vessel to the music and a conduit that can reach people. Music became something different. Now that I do the community cookout and the community outreach, I actually have lived the experience of going to food pantries, knowing the process of going to the shelter, knowing the process of getting kicked off the bus and having to walk miles. So I feel very blessed to be in the position that I am right now. And it's my duty to help people and just to give them an hour of normalcy and to let them know that their life matters and they're not invisible and life can change in an instant. So that's what the community cookout is about.
And it's still happening, right? Or is it?
It is still happening.
Okay, great.
Yes, I am horrible with posting those videos, but I just did one last month in Arizona with the James Beard award-winning chef. His name is Chef Janos. That was amazing. I was like, wow, we're getting good chefs now. This is great. And I also have done it in Scotland and Germany. So I just need to post those videos. So, yes.
That's so great.
I have a question about like scale of work. You're part of this house band on TV that does a lot of improvisational work. You've got a small ensemble in the cookout and your album, and then you've done orchestral scores. Like, where do you feel most comfortable and how do they feel different?
Let me see. That's a good question. I will say I feel comfortable in all of it. However, I feel the most free within the score. Writing a score is nothing like it. It's just like a playground of music and possibilities, especially if you're writing original music. I always think of my favorite composers like Duke Ellington, John Williams. Like, what would they do? How would they write this for this person? Okay, let's throw in a weird sound. It's almost like cooking. You throw these spice, this spice, that spice, that spice. When it comes to working within a band as a side person, that one is more of a self-sacrifice because you have to give up what you already know in a way, and you have to really know how to adapt and cooperate with people on their terms and also keeping a little bit of your terms. So I guess that's why Wynton Marsalis calls it a democracy. It really is like that. Having my own band, I think that's the hardest job, being a band leader. Oh my God.
Heavy lies the crown.
Right?
Even in a democracy.
Yeah. Sometimes I have no words. I always look at people who have been doing it for decades and I'm just like, how did they do it? And I see all the different variations. Sometimes they had a big band. Sometimes they had a sextet. Sometimes they had different members. And now I'm really understanding it. It takes so much patience. And you have to be a person that's assertive, but also open. It is something. And you have to know how to convey your music properly so they can play it properly. It's a tough job, and that money, Ooh-wee.
That's real. That's extra real.
Yes.
That's amazing.
All right, I'm gonna get this question out. So your mom's a teacher, and you taught at Jazz for Young People. What are some lessons that you've learned from each of those, your mom and the students that you had, that you carry in the compositions that you create now?
Oh, that's a good question. Wow, I think I approach things with a lot of sensitivity, just as a person and as a composer. I know some people try to write unplayable music, just to feel like, okay, I'm technically advanced and nobody can play my score. However, I always like to think about just settings, like a location or a topic, a story, an arc to my music that brings a little bit of the humanity. I grew up watching my mom have so much compassion and so much understanding for her students. A teacher's job is a thankless job. I've seen her spend so much money just to make sure that the environment, the classroom looks nice, that it's welcoming, that it's peaceful. And that's how I was when I did my master classes. Anytime there was a question, even a question that I couldn't answer, we would spend time with it until I could, because everybody's ideas are important and everybody's individuality is also important. So yeah, I like to approach my music from a very human level.
Only appropriate that you were part of Stay Human, the John Batiste band.
Yes, right? I'm telling you.
Well, it's been such a delight to talk with you, N'Dea Owens, who's going to be at the UMass Fine Arts Center Bowker Auditorium tonight with your double bass and your incredible energy behind that double bass. It's a joy to watch you play it. It's hard not to feel the joy come through what you bring to that instrument. And I'm excited you're coming to our area.
I'm so psyched every time you list your influences, because then I can see them. I can hear like little markers of them in your music. Like the minute you said you like Diane Reeves, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Thank you. And I also want to make a side note. This is just so random, but I know you all brought up Wikipedia. This is off topic. I'm so sorry.
No, please go ahead. Now we're in for a dime, in for a dollar.
There is a German Wikipedia page that has labeled me as a Cancer, born in 1988. My year is wrong. And my month is wrong. June 12th, 1991, Gemini. Thank you.
All right. Set the record straight. Set the record straight.
We got you.
It bothers me.
We really need to start. We really should. This is how Wikipedia works. We should start the N'Dea Owens Wikipedia page.
I mean, we could easily do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
I want to do it.
Really?
Done and done.
Yeah, let's do it. That's how it happens.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's great.
Yeah, we got you.
You deserve one. Come on. Look at all you've done. It's crazy.
Thank you
It's
so
crazy
much.
that you don't have one.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, we're going to make it happen.
wow. Thank you. Oh, my dream, my Christmas list has been granted.
Yeah, forget about the Grammys and all that stuff. You have a flipping Wikipedia page.
You already have a
Yes.
Grammy. You can get another one later. They can't find you on Wikipedia. This is a problem.
That's a problem.
Oh, my God.
But they can find you at the Fine Arts Center at UMass this evening at 7 with your band. And it's going to be awesome.
You can catch N'Dea Owens at the Bowker Auditorium at UMass tonight. You cannot catch our Live Music Friday guests unless you already have tickets, as their show in South Hadley is sold out. But later on this show for Live Music Friday, we welcome Le Vent du Nord. We'll also taste 2 Snozé wines to help stave off the winter blues with the Wine Snobs at State Street in Northampton. But up next, with the Super Bowl this weekend, a brief history of black quarterbacks with Clark University professor of history, Dr. Usman Power Green. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Window World of Western Mass, a local family business with experienced craftsmen offering vinyl, composite, and James Hardie siding. WindowWorldOfWesternMA.com.
It is time for our monthly segment, The Power of History.
Except for this month, we're getting a lot of it because it's Black History Month. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to quadruple down on our monthly segment this month in particular with the professor of history for Clark University in Worcester, Northampton's own Dr. Usman Power Green, The Power of History. And every time the nation gets together around a television on a Sunday in February, it is somewhat historical, and that's what's going to happen with many many people this Sunday for, as Stephen Colbert would call it, the superb owl, which I think that was just a joke waiting to be taken, and he was the first that I heard to do it. But anyway, the Super Bowl is happening this weekend, and it will be historic because it's a Super Bowl, but it is also historic for another interesting reason that you have brought to our attention, Dr. Usman Power-Green. Do tell.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show, as always.
It's our pleasure.
But last year, something remarkable happened. I was thinking to myself, I wonder how many people really sort of recognize the significance of having Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts being in a Super Bowl against each other. And so there was a tremendous amount of discussion about it. I wondered afterwards if people understood the significance, given the fact that over the last decade, there have been so many African-American quarterbacks. And so, it sort of got me thinking, perhaps it'd be a good idea to sort of think back and help people understand why it's such a big deal and why some of the pioneers, particularly Doug Williams and others, were interviewed to say, like, hey, what do you think? Did you ever think the day would come? So that's the reason why I wanted to come on and maybe have a conversation about this moment and what it means for African-American history.
For two black quarterbacks to play in the biggest game in the NFL.
Again.
Tell us a little bit about the history of some of the forerunners to the two quarterbacks who'll be playing this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple ways to think about it. There's sort of the early pioneers that sort of predate what we think about as the modern NFL. In the 20s, Fritz Pollard is often acknowledged as sort of the first sort of professional African-American quarterback and, sort of in the league. Of course, which is a whole nother segment. There were Negro football leagues similar to Negro baseball leagues, which are more popular. And so obviously you had, leagues that were segregated and African-Americans obviously playing quarterback and then. But the sort of breakthrough really comes in the 1950s with a quarterback named George Talafaro. But for most people, really think about the wave that began in the late 70s with Doug Williams. Doug Williams is pioneer. In 1978, Doug Williams was the first black quarterback drafted in the first round, and he was the first Super Bowl MVP. So him, in moving forward, Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham in the 80s are really going to be the pioneers to break the stereotype, which is sort of what I wanted to talk a little about the position and why it's so important.
Talk about it. Why has it historically been that you could have had every other player on the field be black, but the quarterback for so long was not?
Yeah, I mean, it really goes to stereotypes. The idea that, quarterbacks need to be intelligent, for example, right? And the stereotype that, an African-American athlete is great at running, but there was a bias, racist bias against African-Americans playing the position and the thought that they had the capacity to do it. I mean, even in the 70s and 80s, everybody, into the 90s, certainly, players who were quarterbacks in college, even, well-known ones, would oftentimes be put to different positions because the view is like, well, they did it there, but the NFL is just too sophisticated in the defense, et cetera. And so, the success and the demonstration of these different black quarterbacks shows that one vestige, the idea that somehow African Americans are less intelligent and therefore not qualified to be in the position, one could say that it's been debunked.
I mean, kind of mirroring the same problems that we had in the military, because let's not forget, American football is a war game.
Right. I mean, and it's interesting and not lost on me that so many wars have been a white general who's protected and largely immune from actual injury, pushing a bunch of black and people of color and poor people into the field where they're going to injure themselves. And the position of quarterback, as everybody knows who follows football, has a special status where, you're not allowed to hit them in the same way you're allowed to hit other players.
I really do think that it might be subconscious. The psychologists out there can tell us more about the subconscious. I actually just really do think that it has to do with, racist biological stereotypes and intelligent tests that were biased in the 20s, military intelligent tests, and all these efforts that, made it very difficult for people to trust African Americans in any sort of positions. I mean, even like the old stereotype that, black people can't run long distance or something like that. I mean, there's just so many of them that at this point we have to talk about them historically because of the fact that, you see so many African Americans defying, name it, in this last, particularly last decade, we've seen, African Americans from gymnasts, tennis, sports that people claim that African Americans couldn't do. We've seen, so much success. But certainly the idea of leadership. Can you lead white men? I think that's where it definitely, comes in.
We're speaking with Dr. Usman Power Green. We're talking a little bit about Super Bowl history, as the Super Bowl will happen this weekend again with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, and Jalen Hurts versus the Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Now, I don't want to get into my own personal football prejudices, and they have nothing to do with race, but there's a very good possibility that Patrick Mahomes will contend to be the greatest of all time if he were to win 3 Super Bowls in a row against current greatest of all time, Tom Brady, who was the quarterback of my dreams as a person who grew up in the shadow of Foxborough Stadium and supported a team called the Patriots that was terrible for my entire childhood and then went on an historic run. The other thing that's interesting, I think, about the Super Bowl is the halftime show. And you think about how that's changed and transitioned over the course of the history of the Super Bowl, where you've got some of the icons of black music, including Michael Jackson, and the greatest Super Bowl performance of all time that
Prince.
will never be taken down, no matter who tries, I don't think, by Prince. Although there's a good chance that this one in particular, this time, will be interesting and historic, as Kendrick Lamar is the Super Bowl performer. I think back to Super Bowls past where people like Beyonce have played and made what some feel are political statements in support of Black lives, using this largest stage, arguably, in the world. Talk about a little bit about the history of black performers and the Super Bowl and your take on how maybe people's opinions of that have changed.
Well, as soon as you mentioned previous performers, I couldn't help but think about Janet Jackson.
Yes, that too.
Exactly.
The controversy, and I don't know, Khalees, if you feel this way, but that halftime show, as far as I remember or think about since then, seemed to be one of the last moments that Janet Jackson was in the limelight like that.
It killed her career. A wardrobe malfunction caused by a white man, and he has no repercussions, and she basically drops entirely out of the limelight for a little over a decade.
And we're talking about what's been called Nipplegate or the wardrobe malfunction. It was from 2004, and Justin Timberlake is the white person that Khalees mentioned was the one who created that wardrobe malfunction. I missed the thing entirely because I was having a panic attack as it was the Patriots playing the Carolina Panthers in that Super Bowl, and I just paced around the bar I was in and didn't pay any attention to that Super Bowl.
Oh, no, I watched every minute. I love Janet Jackson. I think she's entirely underrated, is already under the shadow of her brother.
Totally.
Part of what makes it so extraordinary when you do have the ability to, to perform on that stage is you are authentically performing, in this case, Kendrick Lamar with rap, Beyonce, or Janet Jackson or others, to an audience that might not at all, be interested in or like rap music at all, right? And so I think it's, in many ways, the emergence of Kendrick Lamar specifically for football shows a trajectory of the acceptance of black music in the mainstream in certain ways. Going back to the beginning of it, at least how I see it, in 1972 when Ella Fitzgerald performed,
right?
As the first African-American woman. I mean, you think about 72 till now, and you have 2 genres actually that were seen as, not mainstream, let's just say, right? And then both of which will become ones that are accepted. This stage is the biggest stage, and for Kendrick Lamar and where he's at in his career, I can't imagine another opportunity, particularly coming off the Grammys last week. So.
Plus, to get to the political bent of halftime shows, especially like in the wake of like Beyonce and Prince and honestly Rihanna a few years ago performing pregnant, that's a political statement in and of itself too.
We're back to a conversation that we were forced to have in the NFL with Colin Kaepernick, another black quarterback that has excelled as a player obviously, and also has been a touchstone for the modern Black Lives Matter movement. It does seem that a person like Kendrick Lamar would definitely say something, we'll see, that might get people talking and thinking.
It's interesting at this time because many teams in the NFL are taking away the end racism that has been written in the end zone. And the argument is not, they're saying, is not because the Trump administration's pressure against DEI, but rather as they want to put a more inclusive message to include victims of different floods and fires and things. The effect, though, that the Trump administration previous, and I'm sure now as he may show up at the Super Bowl, has had on the NFL has been remarkable. I used to believe that you could end all U.S. involvement in all wars if you just said the NFL will not play if we're at war. Trump has proven me wrong about that. And then Colin Kaepernick is one of the most important pieces of this puzzle as somebody who took not a stand but a knee after being advised by his white military veteran teammate to say that what he believed the country was doing to black bodies was wrong. What do you see the lasting impact as a historian, or even kind of just, a decade removed from this, not even, of Colin Kaepernick on U.S. society and the game?
Colin Kaepernick, like many figures historically who find themselves not the first, but in a particular historic moment to do something, in this case a gesture, that actually become a catalyst for much greater conversation around inequality in law enforcement. There's the lesser known moments like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar not actually playing in the Olympics as opposed to protesting at the Olympics, of course. But there's been a very long tradition that Kaepernick will absolutely be seen in. There's no question about that, regardless of unfortunately seeing his NFL career dismantled basically because of it. Over the last decade, right? So, about 2010s to present, we've seen a lot of firsts. Cam Newton, 2015 Super Bowl MVP, Russell Wilson, Super Bowl champion, Lamar Jackson, 2019 MVP, and then, of course, Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts as well. But when you think about the ways in which the last decade we've seen each one of the sort of markers that once were reasons why people prevented black people from playing quarterback, at the end of the day, what we've seen is each one of the barriers keep toppling to the point where, in a decade, perhaps people might not even be discussing it as a major topic. And it's just no shock to anyone anymore when they see a rap artist perform at the Super Bowl, whereas it once would have been very shocking. I feel the same way about this topic.
It's almost like once you allow some diversity, equity, and inclusion, you can actually see the excellence of people who might have had an opportunity previous and realize that it had nothing to do with an unfair advantage at all, except for the fact that they had no access to these avenues. And that is a topic we will talk about next time we go to the Power of History with our friend Clark University professor from Northampton, Usman Power Green. Who are you rooting for?
I have to say, everyone, I'm a Patriots fan, and so I'm sitting on the sidelines of this one, and I always like seeing records broken. So in some ways, maybe I'll lean towards the Chiefs. At the same time, Jalen Hurts has been putting in so much work. I'll be happy either way.
We all win if the Chiefs change their name.
Right.
Another topic for the Power of History.
Again, how are you going to put end racism on your field when your name is the Chiefs?
And you're doing the tomahawk chop in the audience. Yeah. Anyway,
right.
I love Mahomes and I love Hurts, but I hate both of those teams, so it's a lose-lose situation for me.
The winner are the wings you ate along the way.
Exactly, that is what I'm excited about. From the greatest Super Bowl halftime performance of all time, Prince. It's Live Music Friday, and later some Quebecois folk with Levant Denord who are playing in South Hadley tonight. But up next, to the Wine Bunker at State Street to taste some wintertime rosé. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. Do people buy wine for the Super Bowl?
I do.
I buy wine for football. I sent a series of pictures of watching Sunday football with really expensive Burgundy.
The way to do it.
Like 6 weeks in a row, it'd just be this beautiful bottle of Burgundy on the coffee table with the TV screen in the background.
With the crap Patriots game on in the background.
Yeah.
You have to drink to watch those guys.
Yeah, this year at least. Next year, who knows?
God.
Yeah, we are definitely in the no man's land of wine purchasing holidays. Valentine's Day is a restaurant.
No, it's a great day to buy wine. Snow days.
Oh, yeah. Got more of those coming up, according to Dave Hayes, the weatherman.
Yeah.
We're in the Wine Bunker, deep below State Street, fruit store, deli wines, and spirits. The return of the Wine Thunderdome to its birthplace with the Wine Sun and with Yankee Sippa. And we're going to taste two wines.
Snow wines. Yes. We were going to do bigger reds because it's wintertime. That's what people want. And then we were like, you know what? No, we're not, because we're going to give a little single finger salute to wintered. We love the snow. It's supposed to snow. Happy to see the snow. But doesn't mean you have to drink like there's snow outside. So we are grabbing spring, kicking and screaming.
We decided Puxatawny Phil doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right. Yeah.
So it's rosé all day,
Yeah,
Monty.
because he's a rodent, whatever. So we're doing rosé all day, and we're doing good rosé all day.
Seasons are rosé seasons.
Yes.
I die on this hill.
And also we have a very nice, very rare rosé that we're going to try today.
So where are we going to start? What's the first one we're going to try?
We're going to start in the south with Rosé de Provence. This is from Gassier en Provence. That's their name. And this is the Esprit Gassier Côte de Provence wine. It is a blend of Syrah, Grenache, Rolle, Semillon, Cabernet, and Cinsault.
Ooh, and the label's really cool.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You know, a lot of Provence rosés have that like funny, unique bottle, but like it looks still like a nice bottle. It doesn't have like jagged edges on it, or
Right.
It
It
looks
doesn't
like
have some
diamond or something.
Illuminati piece of glass in the middle of it. For non-wine snobs, remind people how rosé becomes rosé.
First, I'll tell you how you make red wine. So you put your wine in you macerate the grapes, and you get the juice, and the skins and the stems sometimes have contact with the juice, and the longer you have contact with the skins, the darker your wine is going to be, depending on the grape. So what they do with rosé is there are some other techniques, but the most common way is limit your skin contact. You know, sometimes when you're making reds, it's a day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever it is. When they're making rosé, they're like, oh, that's good, 1 day, plenty. And they really control the temperature. You want to keep the temperature cool when you're making wine because it really allows the fresh fruit flavors of the wine to come out. Just the color of it is so beautiful. It has in here, it's kind of weird, but it has almost a little coppery hue to it.
It is ballet shoe pink.
It smells like Rhone grapes.
It is a pile of fruit.
And Provence, where this is from, is sort of like one of the most highly regarded places for rosé.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's the French Riviera, Monty. Not to be confused
Not
with
the-
the other Rivieras of the world.
All I know is I'm going to start vacationing on the Gulf of America.
Anyhow, it's super perfumey fruit.
innocuous.
Like, this smells like warmer times.
It's like summer peaches.
Yeah.
But is that why people want to drink rosé only when it is not wintertime, and most people are drinking it in the spring and summer?
I don't know. I mean, as Khalees said earlier, except for the United States of America, people drink rosé year-round. The acid is perfect on this wine. I don't feel like I'm drooling on myself, which happens at times.
That's how you tell if a wine is acidic. You
Yeah,
open your
that's
mouth and you lean over.
That is a
and if
very-
drool hits the floor,
that is
you
a
know it's an
very
acidic
old-
wine.
Yep, that's a very old school sommelier trick, which we should all just do, even though it's gross.
But this is like one of those rare wines, I feel like, where the nose in no way lied. Like, everything I got in bouquet, I got on palate.
I know that I'm reading into this, knowing where this is from, but there is something herbaceous, like an herb de Provence type thing.
Yep.
There's almost like a savory, kind of borderline of almost rosemary type thing happening.
First thing I actually smelled was a little bit of thyme.
If you could save time in a bottle.
First thing that I'd like to do.
You can.
I'd probably drink it.
If you cut early enough and let it dry, you can put as much time in that bottle as you want to.
Yeah.
State Street's been listening to nothing but the 70s channel I've heard upstairs too, so you're probably really into me.
Yeah, I
Time in a
love it.
bottle.
Steve Winwood's When You See a Chance was on when I came downstairs.
While you see a chance, take it.
Close traffic, but early Steve Winwood before Higher Love.
Cool man, cool.
Khalees loves yacht rock.
What's not to love?
I know, right?
Monty, you know what a big fan we are of really bad wine label translations?
Oh yes, I love this so much. Please.
So I was looking up this Esprit Gassier wine, and it says it's a unique collaboration, is available in 8 settings: by the pool, during a bike ride, a trip to the mountains, at the bend of a confidential cove, in love at sunset in front of the Golden Island, or during a journey in Provence.
Oh no. No, fire this person.
Did AI write this?
You'll notice that's only 6 settings. The other 2 settings are up to your imagination, apparently.
Oh god, I love that translation.
We read the backs of wine bottles like literature.
One of the first memes that I ever saw shared around via email was like bad translations about Purdue chicken, and it takes a tough man to make a tender chicken was supposedly translated into it takes a hard man to make a chicken aroused.
That's why it pays to insist on a chicken with my name on it.
It also says discover the favorite moments of our influencers.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that that's not what they meant to say.
favorite. Wow. I also signed out of all social media.
Wow.
And so did my wife.
And
I have really liked it. I have decided that I am going to control how much information is going to be given to me. I have 2 trusted news sources, one of them yours. And I listen to a half an hour every morning. That's enough to get that first loop. And then I work all day, don't look at my phone. And then I go home and I go through my newsfeed another like half hour, 45 minutes while I'm making dinner. And then I'm done. I realized that after the inauguration, there was all these conversations. And all of a sudden I was like, I'm not doing this for the next 4 years. I cannot live alarmed. Right now, it may be a little bit of a head in the sand, but that's what I'm doing.
Wine Son,
Stealing Live Alarmed and I'm putting it in a song.
Yeah.
Wine Son, you've never been on social media.
That is true. I have never been, and I will never be.
Oh my god.
The oohs and ahs were from the pouring out of
my
wine
God.
number 2. What is wine number 2?
Domaine Jean Fournier. It's a Marsanais Rosé.
Wow, there's a lot of rhyme in there.
So let's talk about Burgundy, because we love Burgundy.
Burgundy is fat.
Marsanais is the farthest north appellation in Burgundy. It's just under Dijon.
Pardon me.
It's
Do you have any
called-
Grey Poupon?
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
I do not. Get away from me in my car. Marsanne is the only appellation in Burgundy, 84 appellations, folks, that has red, white, and rosé. It is the only appellation that can put their name on it and call it a village. So this is something special. You do not see a lot of this. We were very, very lucky and scored a whole bunch of it.
This smells like dreams.
So it smells like dreams. It's a beautiful, deep salmon color. And what's amazing about this is that it still smells like a Marsanne. So Marsanne is one of those appellations in Burgundy. The northern ones make bigger, beefier Pinot Noirs. These are not your Pinot Noir that's, you can see your watch through. It's not gentle. If you have a real Marsanne red, it is like bam, 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 bam. You can still find these wines at a very reasonable price. Not that we can talk about that, but we all know Burgundy, even the lesser known appellations are going to cost you a little bit. This is totally reasonable. It's maybe a special occasion rosé for you, but it's completely worth. I mean, like for all of us to be like, whoa.
Yeah.
A lot of the you do have to sort of educate yourself if you want to get the best out of Burgundy. Mm-hmm. And I think we're drinking some best out of Burgundy.
Real good.
Everyone wants a light-bodied red during the summer. That we really had a lot of requests for that this summer, and I was like, that's great. How about a darker rosé? This, Tavel, I think sometimes will hold up to a hamburger. Definitely hold up to a big oily piece of salmon or something, and so would this.
This would hold up to a pork chop.
Yeah, absolutely. Even a pork chop with like an apple. I almost say pork chop and apple sauce.
Pork chopped and apple
But like
Pork chops and applesauce.
apples and onions on a pork chop with this would be wonderful.
After I drank the Esprit Gassier, I was like, oh, that's going to be tough to beat. And now, just having finished the Marsanne Rosé, I'm like,
It's not even a contest.
it's not even a contest.
Although,
I gotta go back.
Oh my god!
No,
it's
I really-
super, like,
I am.
Going back, it's even more perfumey. The Gassier, it's super floral. Going back,
the thing that's changed for the first one for me, the Esprit Gassier, is that now it's got like a peanut brittle thing happening.
I was going to go back to the cépage. I told you what the cépage was. I expected
grapes that they use to make it.
I expected you to jump all over the fact that there were two of those
Semillon was white.
Two of the 6 grapes were white.
Yeah. What was the other one that was white?
Roll.
Oh yeah, roll.
Oh, and
I always
roll-
forget what roll is.
Roll is Vermentino.
I think the Semillon in particular and the roll to a lesser degree are serving the same function that they do in a Bordeaux Blanc blend. It's sort of lifting the shoulders of the wine. It's broadening mouthfeel. It's adding a little bit of acidity. There's sort of this roller coaster between the red grapes and the white grapes.
A roll.
A roll.
Or a coaster.
Never miss an opportunity for a pun.
No.
you guys only get this every other month.
Not every week like you used to.
I know, I miss that every
Me too.
week.
You say that.
No, I do. I'm going
right.
back to Burgundy.
Going back, this gets a root beery thing on the nose.
I see what you're saying, but it's
Or
still
is it
it's
root beer,
still,
or is it like the sarsaparilla?
it's still got a lot of cherry.
Yeah.
I love that interpretation.
No, sarsaparilla is a good call
Right?
too.
Sarsaparilla's so good.
Oh yeah. Okay, in the wine bunker,
God.
State Street Food Store, Deli Wines and Spirits, 2 rosés enter to try to push away the winter blues and make us feel more like spring and summer. And
I
the
don't know
two
why you did this, because you knew when you brought out the rare thing we were gonna have a
I
sleep.
actually didn't, because none of us have ever tasted it before. It was I literally have never tasted a rosé from this region.
the 2 wines once again.
Esprit Gassier Côte de Provence and Domaine Jean Fournier Marsanne Rosé. Of equal value on the shelf.
Not inexpensive, but not out of the range of fun wine to blow your mind,
An evil porch pounder.
which a lot of people think of rosé as.
Yes.
Well, like,
No, Pinot Grigio took that title and they can keep it.
Before we vote, I would like to point out, every once in a while somebody will ask me upstairs on the floor, what's your favorite wine? And I laugh and I'm like, that's an impossible question for me. Like I refuse to answer that question because it depends on the day, it depends on the month, it depends on my mood. I am equal opportunity when it comes to wine. Like
I'm sorry, EEO has been canceled.
but what I love is quality wine. So I can never pick a favorite. So when we do this, it's always kind of a little gut wrenching because I'm like, now I have to pick my favorite child. I feel
You
really
started
bad.
this. You put this idea in our heads.
I know.
Also, you only have one child, so that's easy. Come on.
I thought, Monty, that we were going to evolve the Thunderdome into going head to head with other stores. So I could
Don't get us started.
we're still working on
Don't
it.
get us started.
We're
So I
still
could-
working on it.
Fine. It's the Marsanne Rosé. That's the better wine, Monty.
Heard and agreed.
Yeah, I mean, like, we know this is a sweep. I don't know why we're pretending.
Yeah. And again, this is all about part of our wine journey is that we all tasted something we'd never tasted before. And that is always the most exciting thing. The Marcinet Rosé is like to have an opportunity to taste something like that and have one that's so well made. That's the specialness of wine, right? We all got to share. Like, remember that time we had that Marcinet Rosé? Like, wow. And that's what we're all looking for. Doesn't matter about the price. We have amazing wines upstairs for $12 that like someone put the same amount of care into that wine. This just happens to taste a lot better. And I have to say, I think that Marcinet Rosé is one of the most beautiful wines I've ever had.
It's almost as if two teams were going to enter, and both of them are really great teams, but one of them has clearly proven themselves to be very potentially the greatest of all time. As hard as it is for me to admit this.
Sunday? Take that back right now, or I'm revoking your Massachusetts card.
You know it's true.
No, it's not.
Just wait.
No way.
Just wait.
I'm turning my back on you.
We don't need another Pinot Grigio Chardonnay. All we want is wine beyond.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, homegrown in Hatfield, Massachusetts, and providing energy savings for their customers for over 10 years. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. Bombyx Center for Arts and Equity in Florence is taking us on a musical field trip. They've teamed up with Halcyon Arts to present the band Le Vent du Nord at All Saints Church in South Hadley tonight. The musical field trip will also take us to Quebec, where this band is from. Since their Juno Award-winning 2003 debut, Le Vent du Nord are a leading force in Quebec's francophone folk movement, which we'll hear a little bit about after. Their show in South Hadley is sold out tonight, so this may be the only opportunity that you get to hear them today. Please welcome to the studio for Live Music Friday, Le Vent du Nord.
Du cœur et tout revient du cœur. Je reviens des écoles du pays. Ton menti plein ta bouche, tu reviens y voir ta vie. Je voudrais voir ta vie morte, son cœur rendu ici. Si j'allais vous cueillir, donnerais-je chemise blanche d'argent à vos plaisirs. Galant pris son épée sur la belle salle étalée. Galant pris son épée, la belle salle étalée. Adieu du village, ma donne de mamie, je m'en vais. Adieu du village, ma donne. Adieu mamie, je m'en vais. Il réveille la belle et la porte s'ouvrit. Il réveille la belle et la porte s'ouvrit. Le prince parle sa main blanche au jardin le conduit. Adieu du village, ma donne, adieu mamie, je m'en vais. Adieu du village, ma donne, adieu mamie, je m'en vais. Oh, pris sa claire épée, drette ton cœur retardé. Oh, pris sa claire épée, drette ton cœur retardé. Son cœur et sa langue, à sa mère le porter. Adieu du village, ma donne, mamie, je m'en vais. Adieu du village, ma donne, adieu mamie, je m'en vais. À sa porte on cogne, la justice rentrant. À sa porte on cogne, la justice rentrant. Ils ont pris son pied, qu'au chapeau l'on conduit. Adieu du village, ma donne, adieu mamie, je m'en vais. Adieu du village, ma donne, adieu mamie, je m'en vais. On mit la corde au cou, mais la corde cassée. On mit la corde au cou, mais la corde cassée. Oh, il s'en mais personne n'a tué. Adieu mamie, je m'en vais.
Le Vent du Nord, sounding incredible in the studio for this Live Music Friday in the fabulous 413. They are playing at All Saints Church in South Hadley tonight, presented by the Bombyx Center for Arts and Equity in Florence. Now, this is the opportunity that you have to correct me on my terrible French.
It was perfect.
We do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members of the band in here, and I'm going to try to pronounce your names correctly, but jump right in and correct me. Simon Baudry?
Oh, in fact, he's not there.
First wrong.
Okay, all right.
Because Simon left the band last year, and it's our new member, Dédé Gagné, André Gagné, that is now in the band since a year.
Okay.
Simon was there for 20 years.
Okay, so that's a...
Maybe we can say then you said correctly the name of Simon Baudry.
Okay, so how do we pronounce your name then?
André Gagné.
André Gagné. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else change in the band without telling me? Okay, so Nicolas
Oui.
Bolaris.
Yeah, not too bad. Forget the S at Nicolas. Nicolas. Yeah, in French it's complicated. Sometimes we pronounce the what you see, and sometimes not.
Okay, Nicolas Bolaris.
Exactly.
All right, good. I got one down. André Brunet.
Oui.
Perfect.
Right. Excellent.
Réjean Brunet.
Yes,
Wow.
perfect.
Excellent. And Olivier Demers.
Et voilà.
Et
Perfect.
Voilà.
You're good.
I'm trying.
10 on 10.
Except for not knowing that one of the band members left after 20 years. Le Vent du Nord means the north wind,
Yes.
right? Where does the name come from?
It was an expression from my great uncle, Marcel, and he was a very weird guy, and he said always, Le vent du Nord est toujours fret, peu importe de quel bord il vient.
And
Which it means the north wind is always cold wherever it's coming from. Very smart.
Yeah.
So, and it was the title of the first CD we did as a duo, Olivier and me, and it became after that a trio and a quartet, and we kept the name Le Vent du Nord.
I love it. And you have many, many recordings and many, many awards, apart from the Juno Award I mentioned in your intro there. And I also mentioned that you are sort of the leading force in Quebec's Francophone folk movement. So tell me, what makes Québécois music, Francophone music like this? What defines it?
I think, first of all, it needs some repertoire from our past, from our heritage, repertoire of call and response, some instruments like the fiddles, the foot tapping, the way to swing the fiddle and the accordion also as well, the way to deliver the vocals too. It's a style on its own. But it starts from the repertoire. You know?
Right.
There's so many songs and tunes that we have. So we pick in those tunes from the past, but we can also compose new songs. Nico composed a lot of new songs. So that represent, I think, the blend. We like to mix the present tunes inspired by the tradition and mix with the real tradition.
And we need to sing in French to be part of the Francophone.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the last song about in French?
It's still not clear. We sing that.
Even I don't know French.
The Adieu du Village, it's the story of a guy who was supposed to be hanged and finally he was saved. So yeah, it's a good finally, but
I love that.
A good finale, but it's not a good start for him. We have a lot of different songs, but you can imagine then when a song travel across time for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 generations.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have
middle-aged songs still alive by the orality. Those songs have something to bring to us, There's a meaning there. If it's love, if it's war, but it's something who makes sense. And sometimes we have songs also just for fun to make fun of somebody or something. And we have lying songs. This is the music for all the moment of the life, It's the folk music. So people have that music to work, to have fun, to say things, say bad things when the children are there. So they find a way
to dance as well.
Yeah, you're right.
It's all my favorite things. Naughty words, dancing, making fun of people gently about, when they don't understand it. And it's also worth noting, if you're just listening to this in a podcast or on the radio, that, there's an electric bass here, 5-string electric bass, 2 fiddles, but there's also a hurdy-gurdy, which is a wonderful, weird contraption that's got push buttons and cranks, and a bouzouki, which is another really cool sort of, I think, Celtic-influenced instrument, or maybe Greek even, or something like that.
This is Irish bouzouki.
Irish bouzouki. All right, cool. Well,
we heard then, I don't know if it's totally true, but we heard then some Irish guy ask a friend to bring back an instrument, the bouzouki, and finally it came a lute, and he came with a bouzouki, but a lute-back bouzouki. And so they changed it, and it became the flat bouzouki tune like that, and it's really Irish. But in Quebec, it's quite new. It's from the 80s, maybe.
Oh, wow.
The hurdy-gurdy is very old,
yeah.
but it disappeared. It's not part of the traditional instrument we have, but it's part of the heritage of the French.
I love it. And we are speaking with the band Le Vent du Nord. Before we hear our next song, any interest in becoming the 51st state of the United States?
Not at all.
You tried in 1812, and
it didn't work so well.
Didn't work
yeah. I think there may be some New England states that would like to join Quebec, so keep that open to us.
Because we have a plan of separation too in Quebec. It's still in movement. It's quite
from Canada itself.
Yeah, to have our own country.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk.
If we have movement in North America, maybe we can invent.
We can wheel and deal.
New countries.
Well, let's hear another song that's Live Music Friday from the band that has sold out All Saints Church in South Hadley tonight. It's Le Vent du Nord on the Fabulous 413.
Avez-vous connu l'enlaire dont nous pleurons le trépas?
Avez-vous connu l'enlaire dont nous pleurons le trépas?
De pareil on n'en voit guère, de pareil on n'en voit pas.
De pareil on n'en voit guère, de pareil on n'en voit pas.
À peine était-il au monde, au lieu de gêner et crier, au descendant à la ronde, chanter dans tous les quartiers, va te faire l'enlaire. À ce point qu'on l'appelle l'enlaire, l'enlaire, l'on, va te faire l'enlaire, va te faire l'enlaire,
va te faire l'enlaire, va te faire l'enlaire.
On l'a mis dans un collège pour apprendre le latin.
On l'a mis dans un collège pour apprendre le latin.
Il faisait le sacrilège, il fumait du libertin.
Il faisait le sacrilège, il fumait du libertin.
Et quand le maître sévère le condamnait au pain sec, sa nourriture ordinaire, il lui répondait en grec, va te faire l'enlaire. L'enlaire. À ce point qu'on l'appelle l'enlaire, l'enlaire, l'on, va te faire l'enlaire, va te faire l'enlaire.
Va te faire l'enlaire, va te faire l'enlaire.
On lui dit va-t'en ou reste, être soldat c'est trop frugal.
On lui dit va-t'en ou reste, être soldat c'est trop frugal.
Médecin t'es trop modeste, commerçant t'es trop loyal.
Médecin t'es trop modeste, commerçant t'es trop loyal.
Tu veux donc être notaire, mais la charge et l'autre à payer. Si tu ne sais rien faire, sois avocat ou boursier, va te faire l'enlaire.
L'enlaire.
Le diable va passer par là. L'enlaire, l'enlaire, l'on, va te faire l'enlaire, va te faire l'enlaire.
Va te faire l'enlaire, va te faire l'enlaire.
Il ne plaçait la sagesse que dans les plaisirs permis.
La
c'est la sagesse que dans les pays est permis. Changeant souvent de maîtresse, ne changeant jamais d'amis. Changeant souvent de maîtresse, ne changeant jamais d'amis. On voulut lui faire prendre femme avec grosse top. Où dit-il j'irai me vendre et demain le premier sop va te faire l'en l'air. Comment nommez-vous cela? L'en l'air, l'en l'air, l'en l'air, va te faire l'en l'air, va te faire l'en l'air. Va te faire l'en l'air, va te faire l'en l'air. On lui dit va-t'en au reste, être soldat c'est trop frugal. On lui dit va-t'en au reste, être soldat c'est trop frugal. Il fut pauvre sans envie, il vécut au sol natal. Il fut pauvre sans envie, il vécut au sol natal. Il resta célibataire et même il n'eut pas d'enfant. Si tu crois trouver sur terre beaucoup de ses descendants, va te faire l'en l'air. On n'en fait plus de cela. L'en l'air, l'en l'air, l'en l'air, va te faire l'en l'air, va te faire l'en l'air. Va te faire l'en l'air, va te faire l'en l'air. Va te faire l'en l'air, va te faire l'en l'air. Va te faire l'en l'air, va te faire l'en l'air.
Woo! Levant du Nord. Now you know why they sold out the show tonight at All Saints Church in South Hadley, put on by Bombyx Center for Arts and Equity in Florence. Thank you all so much. It sounds incredible. Have a
Thank
great
you very
show
much.
tonight.
Yes,
Thank you very
it'll be
much.
Fun.
Yeah. Merci. À bientôt.
I don't know what abierto means. Open?
No, see you soon.
Oh, okay.